When I first came to Sweden, learning the Swedish language was probably one of the hardest things I had to do, but I managed to do it in about like 6 to 8 months. And now jag kan prata svenska och det är jättebra. So in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I forced myself to learn the language very quickly, and probably not in the most convenient way, but I'm sure this will give you some insights and maybe a story on how to inspire you on how to force the language into your brain and learn faster. I did this in a couple of steps, to be honest. The first step was to actually get shocked, because when I first saw the language, I was shocked. Like, I was like, what the hell is this language? Why is it so similar to English? It's like somebody took the English language, beat the shit out of it, and then boom, you have the Swedish language. Because like, I look at the words and I'm like, why does it say exact? Why doesn't it say exactly? Or why does it say samma? Why doesn't it say the same? Like, you're copying my homework, but you're not giving me credit, you know? Like, this is English. And then it's not helping their case, because everyone here speaks really good English. And then I'm like, well, then what is the secondary language? Why do they speak Swedish? Because Swedish people speak better English than they speak Swedish. And I was like, what is this? What's happening here? But anyway, I still don't have an answer for that. But if you want to live here and get a job, you have to speak the language, and you have to be faced with reality, and you have to actually learn the language. So I was like, okay, the first next step to do is to actually get to SFI. And SFI basically stands for Sami for immigrants. I'm just kidding. It means Swedish for immigrants. So it's basically the introductory beginner course while you learn the language. And studying, have these slow classes, and learn about the culture and so on. But the problem with SFI is it's not SFI. It should be a slow fee, because it's very slow. You see, you have a class that has everyone in it, and that's the problem. When you have something for everyone, like, you get the lowest quality thing ever, you know? It's like just basic, because you have old people in it, young people in it, people from different nationalities, different backgrounds. Some people are really want to learn fast, some people they just want to chill and have a fika and talk to someone. So it's very hard to learn the language fast, and then at the same time what you're learning in SFI is not very practical. It's like the super formal, politically correct, slow language that you can't use anywhere else in the day-to-day life. Because I'm spending a month in SFI, and then I go to IKEA, and then the cashier is telling me like, vill du ha kvitto? The brasso, and I was like, what is he saying? Like, what is kvitto? What is this shit? Because we don't learn this, you know? If I can't learn the most basic thing in SFI, what the hell am I doing? It's been already a month. So that was like getting into me. So I was like, you know what? I have to level up my game. I have to take matters into my own hand, and I have to do something about it. So I was like, King Sami, the next best thing to do is to actually get a job, to use it, to be involved in the everyday life and speak the language. I have to force myself into learning it. So I was like, you know what? I'll apply for jobs. So luckily it was summertime, and in summer people travel, they go on their semesters, they go abroad and whatever, and then the companies, they need replacement workers. And then here I was with my blue shining armors. I was like, you know what, I'll go save the companies and I'll work with them. I'm like, I speak the most basic Swedish. I know absolutely nothing, just how to say who I am, where I live, my age, and all this basic stuff. And I apply for the job, and then I get an email that I'm getting an interview, and it was with PostNord, a postal company in Sweden, which is like where you do the postal services, you do packaging, you're registering like items and so on in a big warehouse. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So I apply for the job, and then I get the interview, and I'm like, shit, what am I gonna say in the interview? I don't have a CV. I don't know what a CV is, for sake. Like, I'm just new here, you know? And then I don't know what to say. I'm very nervous. So I manufactured the most bullshit CV in the history of CVs. I literally wrote the most bullshit job that I did in the past. Like I put some job that I worked in Iraq in like a kindergarten, just to present myself as like this super helpful, pure guy who likes to help children and so on. And I put in my CV that I worked in Jordan as like a restaurant manager, like who's like always helping with the under pressure clients and so on, and like customers, to give them the idea that I'm really good at working under pressure. I'm very qualified, and I hope that they won't question it. It was like completely bullshit, but I needed to get the job, you know? So I make this bullshit CV, I go to the interview, and I'm like, at this room, and it's so quiet, and like I've never been in such a quiet room. I felt like I'm gonna go to prison. It's like, I don't know, an interview, like an interrogation. I was like, why is it so quiet here? Like, if I fart, the entire building would collapse, man. Like, that's crazy. Why is it so intense? And I'm waiting in quiet, and then the interviewer come. It was a girl, I think her name was Emma or something. She sits across me, and then I tried to take the lead of the conversation, to say all the Swedish things that I know up front, so she gets the impression that I can speak good Swedish. So I'm like talking about myself, what I like to do in my free time, everything, all the knowledge that I had from SFI, like, which is like the, I don't know, 10 or 15 sentences, and I just throw it at her, and she's like, yeah, okay, you know, like, she's just very nice. She's like giving me this political laugh. Anyway, apparently, even though my Swedish sucked, she said that they really need staff, and your job will not require to talk to a lot of people. You will just be in the warehouse helping, storing and so on, so I'll give you the job. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then she said, you're gonna start tomorrow. And I was like, what What do you mean tomorrow? Like, let me process what just happened here. This is my first ever interview. I just got a job. I never done this before. Like, I'm still processing what am I doing here in Sweden and like what the language is. I don't speak shit. Like, you don't do me like that. Give me a week or something to recover from this experience, lady. She's like, you start tomorrow. Of course, I go the next day in the morning to the warehouse. It's my first time. I get the card, I access it, and I'm in this huge PostNord warehouse. And it's just me, one other Swedish guy who only talks to dogs, because I tried to talk to him and have a conversation with him, and he just like, I don't know, completely avoided any talk whatsoever. And I was like, okay, this guy doesn't want to talk. I'm not a dog, so again, I have to fix that, and I'll just live with it. We go inside the warehouse. The manager comes. He hands us 2 papers, and these papers are like the most complex shit. They were like harder than the math I did in high school. I'm looking at this and like gibberish letters and like it's colors and palettes and like mind maps and so on. I was like, are we gonna invade Mars or something? Are we building a spaceship? It's a warehouse. Just tell me pick this and throw it there. What do you mean? Why do I need all of this? Anyway, the manager speaks for like 2 minutes and he's talking and I don't understand shit. I swear to God, not a single word I could get, because in SFI I said they speak very slow. This guy speaks very casually. He thinks that I speak Swedish. He's like just casually taking it and he's rapping to me in Swedish, and like the other guy is nodding, the Swedish guy, so I had to just play along, and I'm like, yeah, because it's my first day at work. I don't want to get kicked out, so I'm giving that don't kick me out attitude. I'm like, yeah. He speaks for 2 minutes. This as a Swedish guy leaves. He probably understood the assignment, and I'm still waiting. Yeah. And then the manager's looking at me like apparently he was giving me the step that like, the still doing it, like you better move. So I move, I go away. He leaves in his like mini truck, and I'm like, shit, I have this paper, I don't understand shit. This warehouse is huge, I don't know what is what. I don't want to mess things around and get kicked out, and I really want to learn the language and so on. So I'm looking for someone to help me, and I see somewhere at the end of like the warehouse who was like cleaning, and I was like, shit, this guy is gonna be my savior. He's going to help me. Hope is the tunnel at the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. I go to that guy. He's a Somalian guy, and I was telling him like, excuse me, it's my first day at work, I don't know how this works, can you please help me? And then he doesn't speak English. And I was like, come on, out of all people, like everyone here speaks English. Even like the non-English speakers speak English in Sweden. However, he don't speak English, but he was kind enough to show me what to do in sign language. He was literally like taking the pallets and then like moving them to the other spot, and he's like telling me, you do this 10 times, and then from A, he shows me on the paper from A to B here 5 times, he repeats it 5 times, and then I'm looking what he's doing, I learn it, and I do it over and over again, then I learn what my duty is, and then that was the craziest thing ever. It was very embarrassing. Then the next thing happened is like we had to unload trucks. So we're inside this warehouse, the trucks come with a lot of shipments, and in those trucks you're inside and you're working with a person. You have to work in pairs. So I was like, this is my opportunity to practice everything I learned in SFI. Everything, any sentence I learned there, I'll try to ask it to this other person, because ideally they speak Swedish. I'm like standing, we're unloading, and this is like a very weird like environment to talk, because like you have the machines, it's very loud, and then if you talk to them, you can't have a small conversation because it's not like they can just leave. It's not an elevator. Like you're working here for the next, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours, so you can't really escape the conversation if you start it, and they don't start it, so I was the one have to starting it. I'm not starting the conversation with whatever I know. I'd be like, vad bor du, vad gör du, vad heter du, vad kommer du från, all these like basic questions, where are you from, what you're doing, and then he would answer me and then ask me something in return. And I don't know what he's asking. And I can't pretend that I don't know what he's asking, because I would say like, first I was like, I didn't hear you. But you can't keep doing I didn't hear you like 10 times, you know, like you have to answer at some point. And then they look at me and I look at them, and it's so weird, and like, and then I just go back to work, and then they forget about it. And then that was the most embarrassing, uncomfortable situation, because you can't turn your back, they can't leave. Both of us are just like, what the hell just happened? And then like, they would never come and work with me again the next day. I noticed that whenever I talked with someone, they sent someone else to work with me the next day in the truck. So I was like, okay, this actually could be a good thing, because now I can practice to different people, and I know they won't come back and be very embarrassing the next day. So every other day I'll get a new person. I would practice the language with them. Everything I learned in SFI, I would just implement it here, and then I learned some things from them, and it's like the same silence, weird, awkward situation over again, and I'm just like, I'm sweating, and like it's really cold, but I'm sweating because it was so weird, you know, like you sweat from places you did not know you could sweat from. It was very, very tough. But then that helped me to force myself and force my brain to go into survival mode. Like the survival instincts, they told me, if you don't learn Swedish, you're gonna die, because this is so embarrassing, it could kill you. So my brain was like, you have to learn Swedish faster than the speed of light. You have to learn Swedish on steroids. This is your opportunity, and you have to absolutely rock it. And I actually started to learn, and I started to get these new words. I got used to the language. Day after day, I'm practicing and practicing. And then the teachers were like, wow, who are you? You're literally acing all the exams. They moved me a class out very fast compared to all the other students. And the teachers are asking me, how are you learning so fast? And I tell them, well, I'm a genius. I'm doing a lot of homework every day. I'm studying from morning till night, non-stop. That's bullshit. It was just like working in PostNord under this like pressure to having to learn the language or I'll be very embarrassed. That pressure built my muscles of speaking Swedish. And aside from that, I started to immerse myself in the Swedish media world. Like I started to listen to their songs, the slow songs. I would write them down. I would try to see what they mean, see what the music video. I started to watch cartoon, like kids cartoon, because the best thing about kids cartoon, you know, like they show you the most basic stuff. They show you a kid like in the forest, I don't know, poking a shit, or like, I don't know, playing with a squirrel, or like, I don't know, pointing at an alligator. And they speak very slowly. They repeat it a bunch of times and you get to learn it. It's like for kids, so it has fun. There's a story. And that way you're getting the word, you're getting the sound of it, you're seeing it, how it's written, you're seeing the visual of what's happening, and then you're learning from the entire scenery. So like you're getting information hitting your brain from many different learning points. You're hearing it, you're seeing it, and that helps you a lot in remembering the words. And then I started watching like there are TV shows. There was like a show called Bonus Family or something, and that show was a lifesaver because that show kind of portrayed the Swedish lifestyle. And because it's like about the Swedish family, you see them speaking in all the scenarios you would need in your day-to-day life. You would see them speaking in the hospital, with the kids, with the teacher, at IKEA, like when they're buying new stuff, electronics, when they're playing sports. And you're seeing the language being used in all these different scenarios in the most casual, non-formal, relaxed way, realistic way, and that helps you learn so much actual practical Swedish that you can use other than the SFI ones. Another thing I did aside from working and aside from like watching all this media world, I would sit in the bus, because here you have the buses, they go around the city 24/7, and I will sit there on the bus the entire day just listening to people speaking Swedish, you know? I can train my ears to listening and hearing the day-to-day Swedish, how they talk, the fast ones, the slow ones, the different accents, the different like words and so on. And that helped me a lot to immerse myself in the words, like a baby listening to all these sounds, and then you start to translate them into actual language. And then doing those things and learning the music and watching these shows and working as PostNord, all of these completely transformed how fast I would learn the Swedish language. And I was like, boom, 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 boom. And then I changed my entire mindset about SFI and how I should use it. You see, when you come here, you think SFI is where you're gonna learn the language. But that's not the case. Best way to use it, to use SFI, in my experience, is to do all of the learning on your own outside SFI. You go, you watch the media stuff, you try to find a job, you try to talk to people, you try to listen to what they say, and you teach yourself the material, and then you use SFI as a platform so you can have access to the teacher, which is usually a Swedish person, and then you can use that person to practice what you learned outside SFI. And it's not the other way around. You don't learn in SFI and then you go practice it outside. You learn outside and then you go practice it in SFI, and that way you have access to an actual Swedish person who speaks Swedish perfectly, who won't judge you if you're failing, and won't ghost you because you're not a dog. They will talk to you because they're getting paid to talk to you. They have a salary to just talk to someone like you. So you can use that by practicing everything that you learn outside SFI, and that helped me really understand how Swedish works and speak Swedish in a good way that I can communicate and work and so on. So that is basically how I learned Swedish. So yes, a couple of final thoughts. If you live in Swedish, you can actually go far by just speaking English. It's just hard to get a job when you're just speaking English, but otherwise almost everyone, I think 70% or something, speak really, really good English, better than they speak Swedish. So, and to be honest, when you think about it, it's quite ironic, because even when you learn the language in Sweden, you don't really talk a lot. People don't talk to each other. Like, it's very rare you have a really long conversation. Like, you really have to be a dog, and dogs don't speak Swedish anyway. So when you learn it, you're like, why did I learn it in the first place? Like, it's just 10 million people speak it. Like, it's such a small country. Like, you go to Denmark and they speak Swedish on steroids. Like, they are and you don't know what the freak they are talking about. So, and you will ask yourself, why the hell am I learning Swedish? Well, the truth is, if you want to work here and live here and start a family here or whatever, if you just want to survive here, you probably need to speak their language, because it's very hard to get a job, like I said, if you don't speak the language. And aside from getting the job, you can literally do anything without learning Swedish, because the actual Swedish that you're going to use outside your job is just like ja eller nej, but in most likely nej tack. And yeah, there you go. That's how I learned Swedish. So I think you can apply the same principle to learning any language, because I also learned English the exact same way, by forcing it into my brain. I was in Iraq, I didn't have like any English speaking people or whatever, so I had to force my brain into learning by designing an environment that helped me speak English. You might want to consider watching this video, how I learned English in the most ridiculous way, and you won't believe, literally, it was ridiculous, like how I learned it here. Like, Harvard don't teach this, so I'm sure you will enjoy it and you will graduate. Peace out. I'll see you at the next one.